At school, Li Wuju sat alone in the hallway, quietly reading. Around him, other students chatted and laughed, but their voices felt distant, as if they belonged to a different world. As long as he could remember, he had hated school. He often thought that his weak body and timid nature had made it impossible for him to fit in. Because of that, making friends had always felt out of reach. The idea of having close companions, or even dating someone, seemed like something that happened only in stories. He often caught himself thinking that life would be simpler if people were as harmless and honest as animals. As he turned a page, he sensed someone watching him. From the far end of the hallway, a shadow detached itself and moved quickly toward him. A mysterious girl exclaimed that she had finally found him. Startled, Wuju looked up. His heart skipped when he saw the silhouette of a girl with cat ears rushing toward him. Instinctively, he raised his book like a shield as she leaned in, studying his face at close range. The strange girl murmured that something felt off and questioned whether it was only her imagination. Wuju wondered if he was dreaming. Before he could react further, the door burst open with a loud crash. The force of the impact knocked him aside. Another girl stormed in, loudly declaring that she had finally found him and demanding to know what he was doing there. Wuju quickly explained that he had nothing to do with that woman. The girl sharply asked what woman he was talking about. When Wuju turned to point, the cat-eared girl was gone. He insisted that someone had been there just seconds ago. The new girl grabbed his face, accusing him of lying and stating that liars deserved punishment. Although he repeated that he was telling the truth, she refused to listen. She dragged him back toward the classroom. Once inside, she asked how he felt. She revealed that some students had humiliated him and questioned whether the way he looked now was a punishment or perhaps even a reward. Feeling uneasy, Wuju answered that yes, it was, and awkwardly added that she smelled nice. The classroom erupted in laughter. The blonde girl among them remarked that he was surprisingly funny. She commented that since he liked her scent, she could give him her sock and place it over his head. The other students stared at his flushed face and twisted the scene into something else. The blonde girl observed that he acted so shy he seemed like a girl and wondered aloud how he would ever grow into a man. Another student chimed in, claiming that he already was one because he had a wife, Rabin, and adding that he had heard they lived together. Wuju immediately denied it, explaining that she only lived downstairs. The blonde girl responded that it sounded interesting and asked if they truly lived together. Wuju glanced at Rabin, who sat apart from the commotion. He clarified that they did not live together and that he was merely staying at her house. His bully mockingly asked whether they had already done something she called the fruity fantastic. At that moment, Rabin rose from her seat and approached them. Standing firmly before the group, she stated that yes, they lived together and asked why it mattered to anyone. The bully Hiji replied that it did not matter and that she was only joking. Rabin told her to stop prying into other people's lives and focus on her own. She added that smiling while picking on someone weaker made her look pathetic. Hiji's expression darkened, clearly offended. Rabin ignored her reaction. She took Wuju's hand and led him out of the classroom, leaving the others silent. In a quieter part of the school, Wuju thanked her. Rabin quickly told him not to misunderstand her intentions. She explained that she only intervened because she could not stand watching him behave like an idiot. Realizing how harsh she sounded, she shyly apologized. Wuju reflected that Rabin had been his childhood friend. She had grown into a popular girl, while he had drifted into isolation. Even so, she had always been blunt. She asked why he was so cowardly despite being a guy. She warned him that if he kept staying silent, she would end up dragged into trouble too. Just then, a cat leaped out of nowhere and landed directly on her face. Both of them screamed as they stumbled and fell, tangled together on the floor. In the chaos, Wuju found himself inches away from Rabin, his mind spinning. She muttered in confusion, asking if that had really been a cat. As Wuju tried to steady himself, he noticed something glowing faintly. The small charm hanging from Rabin's necklace shimmered with a soft light. He immediately recognized it. Years ago, he had given her that necklace. He remembered how she had excitedly asked whether she could truly keep it, since it had been a gift from his mother. He had told her that she could, explaining that she was as precious to him as his mother. Back in the present, Rabin asked what he was thinking about so deeply. She had not yet realized how close they were, and when she finally did, both of them blushed. Suddenly, the black cat reappeared. It darted toward them, snatched the necklace, and bounded toward the open window. Before disappearing, it glanced back once. Rabin noticed the necklace was gone and cried out, pleading for the cat not to take it. Wuju demanded to know where it had gone. Rabin explained that the cat had stolen it. Her voice trembled with sadness as she wondered what to do. Wuju's expression hardened with determination. Without hesitation, he ran after the cat, shouting for it to stop. While sprinting down the corridor, he collided with Hiji. The cat slipped between them, and Wuju rushed past without asking permission. Annoyed, Hiji snapped that he was ridiculous. She grabbed a sandal and hurled it at him. The sandal missed Wuju but struck the cat near the window. The impact sent the cat tumbling out into open air. Wuju screamed in horror and, without thinking, leaped after it. Rabin watched in shock as he disappeared from sight. As he fell, Wuju wondered if this was how he would die. He thought about all the things he still wanted to do. Then the cat spoke, calling him an idiot and reminding him that it was a cat and would survive. But he would not. Wuju stared in disbelief and questioned whether the cat had truly spoken. The cat replied in resignation that it had no choice anymore. It declared that since he had been foolish enough to jump after a cat, it would proceed. It shouted an invocation to the Magatama, proclaiming that the throne of the heavens would choose who would sit beside it, and announced that the competition of the 12 signs would begin. The necklace flared with brilliant light, and a glowing magic circle formed beneath Wuju. The cat ordered him to declare that he would serve as the judge. Though stunned, Wuju shouted the words. As he closed his eyes, the cat confirmed that everything was prepared except for the rules. Wuju did not hear the rest because he fainted. Elsewhere, a man's voice asked him what he truly desired. Confused, Wuju muttered a vague response. When he opened his eyes, he found himself in the school infirmary. The nurse asked whether he had regained consciousness. He sat up too quickly, and their heads bumped. She asked if he was all right, and he nodded. She explained that she had heard he fell from the 4th floor. Wuju said he remembered nothing. The nurse remarked, with curiosity, that he had no serious injuries and that he was free to leave. She suggested that his memory lapse might be due to the shock and warned him about possible side effects, recommending a hospital visit just in case. He thanked her and left. From a distance, someone watched him carefully. When he returned home, confusion still clouded his thoughts. He decided he should shower and rest. But as he entered his room, he froze. The black cat sat calmly on his bed. He shouted that it was the thief cat. The cat replied sarcastically that the necklace had belonged to it from the beginning. Wuju blinked, questioning whether the cat could truly speak. He began hitting his head lightly against the wall, wondering if this was a side effect from the fall, just as the nurse had warned. The cat cut him off, demanding to know why he was pretending. It declared that he was now the judge and warned him not to make it regret choosing him. Still skeptical, Wuju asked what that meant. The cat grew irritated and questioned whether he genuinely remembered nothing or was simply acting clueless. Finally, it declared that it would force him to remember and leaped at him. Meanwhile, Rabin stood outside, glancing toward Wuju's window. She wondered whether he was all right and thought he should have arrived home by now. Suddenly, she heard a scream. Without hesitation, she rushed upstairs and burst into his room. When she flung the door open, she froze. Wuju stood there with a girl who had cat ears and neither clothes. The situation could not have been more chaotic. Rabin screamed at the sight. Wuju also screamed in shock. The cat-eared girl calmly asked whether he remembered now. Rabin turned and ran down the hall, shouting for her mother and warning everyone that there was a naked girl in Wuju's house. Wuju stood there, stunned, unable to speak. The cat girl commented casually that she could breathe much better now. Still bewildered, Wuju asked who she was. The girl explained that she was the black cat from that morning, and reminded him that they had even fallen together. With a cheerful smile, she introduced herself as Nenah and expressed hope that they would get along well. Wuju stared at her, utterly lost, wondering what she wanted from him. From elsewhere in the house, Rabin screamed again, calling for her mother and accusing Wuju of bringing a naked woman into the house. In the middle of the uproar, Wuju could only stand frozen. Rabin's mother soon arrived. Rabin stood nearby, watching anxiously. Her mother asked whether her daughter was still half asleep and questioned what time it was. Wuju politely greeted her, and she greeted him in return, commenting that it had been a while since she last saw him. Rabin, still shaken, says that this cannot possibly be real. Her mother barely reacts to her distress. She casually walks away and asks Wuju if he would like to join them for dinner, adding that they will wait for him. Wuju thanks her politely, while Rabin insists that her mother should at least wait and listen. A soft meow sounds behind Wuju. The black cat has appeared again. Rabin returns mid-sentence, saying that now that she thinks about it, only to freeze when she notices him standing in front of the cat. It is Nenah, who takes every chance to tease him whenever Rabin looks away or steps out of the room. Wuju quickly says that everything is fine and asks Nenah to stop for now. He requests that she remain in her cat form. Then he gathers a few pillows, arranges them on the floor, and tells her to make herself comfortable. Nenah obliges, dropping onto the cushions as if she owns the place. Wuju sits back, rubbing his temples, wondering what is actually happening. Nenah suggests that perhaps something went wrong when they fell from the building. He asks her what she means by the 12 zodiac signs and whether she is referring to the old folk tale. Nenah looks puzzled at the mention of a tale, then admits that it has been a very long time. She explains that it is not just a story, but a competition that has not taken place in 3,000 years. Wuju lies down trying to sleep, thinking that his life has become absurd overnight. The cat confirms that everything she has said is true and adds that she had no choice but to select him. She asks for his understanding and calls him Mr. Judge. Half asleep, Wuju mutters that he understands nothing and that it all sounds ridiculous. His thoughts drift, and he slips into a dream. In that memory, a blond man stands surrounded by small animals. He gently pets one of them and says that he must leave. He asks if any of them wish to accompany him. Every animal nods eagerly. The man, however, looks saddened and explains that not all of them can sit beside him. There are only 12 thrones, and those seats must be earned through a competition. The next morning, Wuju mumbles in his sleep before jolting awake. He wonders whether everything was just a dream. Relieved, he thinks it is not too late for school, but then remembers what happened the day before. He has no desire to return, yet he forces himself to get dressed. Nenah watches him quietly as he leaves. Once alone, she heads downstairs, transforms into her human form, and enters Rabin's room. She opens the closet and calmly begins selecting clothes for herself. At school, Wuju reassures himself that at least Hiji is absent, so perhaps today will be peaceful. Then he overhears someone mention that Rabin has not shown up either and speculate that it might be because of what happened with him. His stomach tightens. He remembers how Rabin stood up for him. Anxiety takes over. He stands abruptly and begins searching every classroom, wondering if something happened because of him. When he cannot find her, he runs out of school and heads to her house. He knocks frantically and asks if Rabin is home. Her mother replies that they left together for school earlier that morning. Wuju explains that they might have gotten separated on the way. As he searches the streets, he notices that she is not answering messages or calls. A heavy sense of dread settles over him. Suddenly, Nenah appears beside him. He jumps in surprise, first calling her a cat before correcting himself and addressing her as Nenah. He asks what she is doing walking around in human form, and what would happen if someone noticed her true nature. She replies that she covered her ears. Wuju points out that her tail is still visible. Still, he does not press the issue and instead urgently asks whether she has seen Rabin. Nenah asks if he means the girl from yesterday and calmly states that it has already begun. Confused, Wuju demands to know what she means. Nenah smiles and explains that the descent of the 12 Zodiac gods has started. At that very moment, a pillar of light shoots up into the sky nearby. Wuju panics and asks what that was. Nenah grabs his hand and says they must go there immediately. As they run, she tells him to listen carefully. The ceremony has begun. The 12 gods are descending into the human world to compete, and she believes one of them has targeted that girl. Wuju asks if she means Rabin and demands to know why they would choose her. Nenah answers that it is a long story. Wuju insists on an explanation. She tells him that above all, he is the judge, and it is his responsibility to ensure that all 12 gods participate in the game. He stands stunned and asks what will happen if he fails. Nenah answers bluntly that if he cannot fulfill his role, that girl will be devoured by the gods. The words hit him like a blow. Nenah smiles faintly and tells him to do his best. They arrive at an abandoned warehouse. Wuju rushes inside, shouting Rabin's name and asking if she is there. He sees her and tries to move closer, but Rabin screams at him not to approach. He asks what is wrong. She shouts again for him to stay back and suddenly bolts past him. Wuju watches in disbelief, wondering why she is moving so fast. Nenah tells him that they must follow her because she is not fully possessed yet. They chase her up the stairs toward the rooftop. Wuju yells that she needs to participate in the competition between the 12 zodiac signs, whatever that truly means, so her body can return to normal. He and Nenah leap forward to catch her, but Rabin dodges effortlessly and gains distance. Nenah comments that their first opponent is the 4th seed of the zodiac, the rabbit. Wuju, unable to process what he is hearing, asks what she is talking about. Rabin suddenly lands on the far side of the building, right before his eyes. He stumbles and falls to the ground in shock. Nenah mutters in frustration that among all the gods, the rabbit is the most troublesome. Wuju remains frozen until Nenah grabs his hand and tells him that there is no time to panic. He struggles to accept that his friend just leaped from such a height. Nenah shakes him and warns that if they hesitate, she will escape completely. Without another word, she pulls him off the rooftop. They plummet rapidly. Wuju feels the wind roar past him until Nenah tells him not to be afraid. She shares her power with him, and suddenly his body spins through the air with impossible control. They land smoothly on their feet. Nenah asks what he thinks and whether it was not incredible, explaining that she lent him her ability. Wuju can barely respond, overwhelmed. A scream cuts through the air. He looks up and sees Rabin, her body partially transformed. Horror spreads across his face. Nenah warns him that they must capture her before the possession completes. She focuses on her target and declares that after such a long wait, she might as well warm up. She lunges forward, claws extended, but Rabin dodges again and again. At one point, the rabbit spirit gains distance and leaps onto a lamppost. With tears in her eyes, Rabin pleads to be set free. Seeing her cry, Wuju runs toward her, begging her not to run anymore and insisting that she must join the competition so she can return to normal. Nenah observes that the possession is advancing faster than expected. She also notes that the terrain favors the rabbit. Wuju asks why. Nenah explains that large ears and powerful legs are natural traits of a rabbit, perfect for jumping and escape. She adds that herbivores excel at endurance and asks whether he cannot see how joyfully she leaps. She warns that if this continues, Rabin will be fully overtaken. Wuju thinks carefully. He realizes that both Nenah and Rabin are guided by their animal instincts when they land and move. An idea forms. He approaches Nenah and asks her to listen closely. Together, they put the plan into action while the rabbit continues to evade them. Nenah unsheathes her claws and lunges repeatedly, but Rabin avoids every strike, growing faster and stronger. As expected, she leaps back toward the rooftop. Nenah smiles faintly. Meanwhile, Wuju races up the stairs. He reflects that carnivores are sprinters, while herbivores are built for long distances. An escaping herbivore cannot be caught in open ground. That is why he told Nenah earlier that they needed to hunt together and corner their prey. Now the method unfolds. The goal was always to force Rabin back to the rooftop. Despite his fear, Wuju steadies himself. He silently asks Rabin to wait just a little longer. He reaches the rooftop just as she prepares to land. He realizes that Nenah drove her exactly where they wanted. He positions himself at the landing point. As Rabin descends, he catches her in his arms. The spirit within her screams that it refuses to leave and struggles violently. Nenah shouts that Rabin is losing herself and that they must force her into participation. She orders Wuju not to let go under any circumstances. He tightens his grip and declares that he will never let her go, that he will stay by her side forever, and that she was the one who reached out to him first. He insists that this time she will not run away. His voice rings with determination as he repeats that he will not release her. Nenah commands him to declare that the rabbit is entering the competition. Without hesitation he does. Nenah begins to glow. A pillar of light rises around them. Rabin's body relaxes, going still for a moment, then something emerges from her head, forming the shape of a small rabbit spirit. Nenah remarks that the others have arrived and that she has waited a very long time for this day. Wuju, overwhelmed, asks what she means by the others. At that instant, multiple pillars of light descend from the sky. Nenah asks what Wuju thinks those pillars of light are, then explains that they are the Zodiac gods descending. Not long after, Rabin starts to come to her senses. Wuju moves closer, checks on her, and says that she should tell him right away if anything hurts. Rabin shoves him back and demands to know what he is doing. Wuju explains that they are at his house, but Rabin's attention catches on something else almost immediately. She points at Nenah and says that Nenah is the exhibitionist from earlier, adding that she recognizes the clothes Nenah is wearing. Before Nenah can respond, someone comments that Rabin is speaking far too casually for someone who is nearly dead. Rabin's eyes follow the voice, and she notices a small being floating nearby. Rabin says that she must still be half asleep. Nenah corrects her and says that it is not a dream, asking if Rabin truly remembers nothing. Rabin insists that it feels like a dream anyway, yet she also finds it strange, because she feels an unnatural connection to the rabbit. Nenah explains that Rabin is now going to participate in the competition of the 12 zodiac animals. Rabin looks bewildered and asks what that is supposed to mean. Wuju immediately adds that he wants to know too, insisting that Nenah explain properly and demanding to know what this zodiac competition actually is. Nenah begins to speak, but the rabbit interrupts and says that it seems the cheeky cat failed to tell the story the right way, so he will explain it briefly, clearly, and concisely. He states that the zodiac competition is a sacred contest that decides the order of the 12 animals who guard the heavens. Nenah comments that she already said that much earlier, but the rabbit continues and says that whoever is chosen as the judge and bearer of the gokak must gather the 12 divine spirits who descend from the sky to the earth. He adds that the judge has 100 days to find them and force them to participate in the competition. He calls it the judge's responsibility, because the judge is the one who sets the event in motion. Still confused, Wuju asks why the rabbit possessed Rabin's body in the first place. The rabbit replies that the original zodiac race at the beginning of the 20th century is not comparable to this era. In modern times, with heaven and earth separated, celestial spirits require a medium to interfere in the human world. Wuju repeats the word medium, and the rabbit explains that since they are gods, they do not compete directly. Instead, they descend and lend their power to humans who will compete on their behalf. He uses himself as an example and begins merging with Rabin again. As the merging starts, Rabin's appearance shifts. She reacts with irritation, demanding to know what he is doing and ordering him to get out of her body. The rabbit explains that sometimes they lose control, as happened when he first descended. He describes it as a side effect of two souls sharing one body. Wuju asks if that means other people can suffer the same condition Rabin did. The rabbit confirms it and says there are 11 others like her. Elsewhere, a girl arrives at an airport after a flight. A boy comments to his mother that the young woman is wearing baby clothes, and the mother tells him not to stare. The blonde girl hears the remark, checks her reflection, and wonders if the person in the mirror is really her. In another place entirely, a different girl begins developing physical traits that resemble those of a tiger. Back in the room, Wuju asks if that means 11 more people will experience bizarre changes like Rabin. Nenah confirms that it does. Wuju grows tense, thinking about how he is supposed to convince people he does not even know to join a race they will not believe in. The rabbit says they will not be complete strangers, because the hosts the Zodiac gods choose are people who have some kind of connection to the judge. He adds that this is likely why he descended into Rabin first, since her connection to Wuju is especially strong. Wuju turns that over in his mind, and starts thinking about the people around him. He remembers the woman at school who always serves him food and tells him to eat a lot so he can grow quickly. Then he asks what happens if he cannot keep the race going, if he fails to find all the participants, or if the 100 days run out. Nenah answers that if that happens, the divine spirits will be unable to return to the celestial realm, and the hosts will be completely possessed. Rabin immediately asks, worried, whether she will be possessed again. The rabbit replies that because they were separated, he cannot take over her body again the same way. However, he assumes that from now on, they will have to live together forever. Rabin looks horrified at that. The rabbit admits that he does not want that either. Wuju remarks that this means he is holding 12 lives in his hands. Nenah confirms it and tells him that no matter what happens, he must keep the race moving. She cups his face and tells him to stay close to her. Rabin complains, asking why she has to suffer through something like this at all. Wuju admits that he does not know. The rabbit comments that this is clearly happening because the cat restarted the race. Before he can say more, Nenah catches him, snapping at him and demanding how he can say that. The rabbit asks if she truly believes she can hide it for long. Rabin, now suspicious, asks what the rules of the race are and whether the cat has been hiding those too. Nenah denies hiding anything. She explains that the judge is the one who decides the rules, but unfortunately, Wuju cannot remember them right now. Wuju says that he feels like the memory is close, as if it is about to return, and he blames the rooftop fall for his fuzzy mind. The rabbit says it is not an issue and claims that even if the judge forgot, they can work it out. He steps closer and taps Wuju's body with the tip of his ear. Wuju reacts in surprise and asks what he is doing. Before the rabbit can continue, Nenah cuts in, saying that she was going to do that, then launches herself at Wuju. In one swift motion she tears his shirt open, exposing his torso and revealing a stone embedded in the center of his chest. Rabin asks what that is. The rabbit tells her to look more closely. He explains that right now only the rabbit's mark is visible. He adds that if Wuju makes the other animals participate and fills the empty spaces, he will be able to learn the rules. Then the rabbit reveals the condition that makes Wuju go cold. If Wuju fails to gather them all within 100 days, the game will not be completed, and the judge will die. Wuju stares, stunned, unable to accept it. He tries to cover himself and, shaken, says that they should start searching for the other hosts immediately. Nenah agrees. Rabin, however, cannot let go of one question. She asks Nenah why she restarted the race. Nenah falls quiet for several seconds. The rabbit answers for her, suggesting that it is probably because of a wish, since the winner of the race is allowed to make one. Both Wuju and Rabin react with surprise to that. Nenah then hugs Rabin and says that it is a problem for later, something to think about once the race is already underway. She turns away and says they need to focus on finding the hosts. As Rabin prepares to leave, she stops and asks whether Nenah plans to keep living in Wuju's house. Nenah replies that she does because she has nowhere else to go. Rabin protests, saying that a man and a woman cannot stay alone together in a room. Nenah notices Rabin's anxious tone and asks if she is jealous. Smiling, she tells Rabin not to worry and says she will not steal him. Rabin storms off, shouting that it is not about that at all. A moment later, she returns carrying clothes and tells Nenah to at least wear them if she is going to stay. Then she leaves again. Nenah comments that it is not her style but says it is fine. She starts undressing anyway. Wuju turns bright red and asks her to wait, then awkwardly asks if she truly intends to stay at his house. Nenah asks what other choice she has and says that he has to take responsibility. She grips his clothes and tells him that he already knows. Wuju asks what she means. Nenah answers plainly that she is hungry. So Wuju pours a bowl of milk and, out of instinct, sets it on the floor. Nenah drinks it exactly like a cat would. Watching her, Wuju thinks that no matter how human she looks, she is still a cat at her core. When she finishes, Nenah thanks him for the food. Then she complains that the milk is too cold. Wuju explains that it came straight from the refrigerator. Nenah asks what a refrigerator is. Wuju is startled that she does not know. Nenah explains that such things did not exist 3,000 years ago. Curious, Wuju asks how she survived for so long. Nenah replies that she slept, and when she opened her eyes again, the world had already changed. She adds that she wanted to eat fish, but could not find a fish market. She also wonders where all the crows went and asks if she should go to a mill or something similar. Hearing how lost she sounds, Wuju calls her name and explains that those places and routines do not exist anymore, that too much time has passed. A quiet silence settles between them. Nenah smiles and says that she understands, but adds that it feels like she fell completely alone into a world that is not hers. Wuju studies her for a few seconds, then asks how she managed to buy ice cream earlier. Nenah answers that she smelled something like milk from a box, so she opened it and ate what was inside. Wuju interprets that as stealing. Nenah argues that she did not know what it was. She lowers her head slightly. Wuju thinks for a moment, then says that he wants to take a short walk and asks if she would like to come with him. Nenah looks amazed by the invitation. She springs up, grabs his hand, and says that she wants to go with him. Smiling brightly, she says it will be fun. Night has already fallen when they step into the city together, walking hand in hand. Nenah stares at everything like it is magic. She nearly gets into a fight with another cat, pokes at vending machines like they are suspicious creatures, and tries them out anyway. Later, she drinks a soda while looking out at the city from a rooftop. They stop by an ice cream shop, and Wuju explains how to buy ice cream properly and how to eat it. He asks her not to steal next time and offers her a popsicle. When he accidentally touches her cheek with the ice cream, Nenah flinches in surprise. Wuju immediately apologizes. Nenah simply tastes the ice cream smeared on her face and says it is delicious, then takes the popsicle and begins enjoying it properly. Wuju watches her up close and thinks that she looks like a little girl. Just then, they hear the door open. 2 more people step into the shop. The young man tells the girl that places without staff are perfect for dates. She asks why he thinks that. He explains that couples often go there to kiss in private. Nearby, Wuju and Nenah quickly hide when they notice them. The boy approaches the girl and suggests that they should kiss. She initially refuses, but judging from the sounds that follow, Wuju understands that they end up doing it anyway. Flustered, Wuju pulls his cap down onto Nenah's head and rushes out like a bolt of lightning, apologizing to the couple as he passes. Once they are back home, he says that the situation felt too risky and that they should end the outing for the day. Nenah, clearly curious, asks why he suddenly ran off like that. He apologizes again. Nenah explains that she got dirty. Wuju apologizes once more and tells her she should wash herself. Nenah agrees, but proceeds in her own unusual way. When he sees how she is doing it, he asks what she thinks she is doing. He gently pushes her toward the sink and tells her to wash properly with water. Nenah protests that her fur will get wet and says that cats do not wash like that. Wuju points out that she does not currently have fur in that form. He starts explaining how to use the faucet, but suddenly asks why she is undressing so casually. Embarrassed, he turns and leaves the bathroom trying to calm his thoughts and pulls the door closed behind him. Then he remembers too late that the bathroom door is broken. The door slowly swings open again, leaving a gap. He accidentally catches sight of Nenah inside and freezes in shock. After finishing, Nenah comments that hot water feels wonderful. When she notices where he is standing, she asks if he likes that thing called a refrigerator. Wuju silently wonders how he ended up responsible for all of this chaos. Trying to recover his composure, he steps into the bathroom afterward and mentally prepares himself by imagining her as a 3,000-year-old monster cat instead of a girl. He comes out feeling refreshed and newly determined, only to see her about to climb into his bed. He immediately starts building a makeshift sleeping space on the floor. Nenah asks what he is doing. Wuju explains that since it is time to sleep and the floor is comfortable enough for him, he will sleep there. Nenah asks why it has to be that way, and suggests they sleep together like the previous night. That completely derails his thoughts, and he starts listing countless excuses. Nenah then turns into her cat form and jumps onto him, making it clear that she only meant sleeping beside him as a cat. Wuju realizes that if that is the case, it is acceptable. Nenah reflects that his reaction was predictable and that a human arm is warm. Later, Wuju looks at her curled up and thinks that this proves she really is just a cat at heart. He eventually falls asleep. The next morning, he slowly wakes and wonders when he drifted off. As his eyes focus, he realizes he is face to face with Nenah in her human form. He shouts her name in surprise. Nenah wakes and calmly greets him. He explains that he has to go to school. Nenah asks if school is like a sudang, a traditional academy. He confirms that it is similar. Nenah says she wants to go too, sounding excited. The idea shocks him and he quickly imagines how chaotic that would be. He asks her to wait at home because she cannot come along. Outside his building, Rabin is already waiting and wondering why he is taking so long. When she sees him, she greets him with relief, but her expression shifts when she spots Nenah nearby. She turns and starts walking ahead alone, wondering why he is blushing so much. Behind him, Nenah says that since he insisted, she will not follow him to school. She tells him to behave properly. He answers that he understands. She adds that he should stay alert around anyone suspicious, find the hosts, and make them join the race. He promises that he will. He tells her to stay home and not wander around causing trouble like before. After he leaves, Nenah smiles, transforms, and slips out as well. At school, Wuju worries about how he can possibly find the hosts when he barely knows anyone. He also notices that no one is acting strangely like Rabin did. He decides that first he should focus on simply getting through the day. When he opens the classroom door, he notices many empty seats. Some students ask why so many are absent. Others say they are not sure. But none of the usual troublemakers showed up, which makes the room feel unusually peaceful. The teacher enters and tells everyone to sit. Seeing the absences, she explains that several students are hospitalized. The class starts speculating about gang fights and traffic accidents, but she tells them to be quiet and says the staff is handling it, warning them not to spread rumors or create panic. She then tells the class representative to begin the greeting. After class, Wuju thinks about how quiet everything feels and wonders if school was always like this. He remembers that he needs to return some library books. He heads there, returns them, and thinks it would be nice if every day were this calm. As he hands over the books, his fingers brush the receptionist's hand. They both pull back and apologize. She looks at his selections and says that his reading choices are cute. He replies that it is because he likes animals. She says she knows and explains that she often sees him in the biology and natural science sections. That makes him blush. He thinks that if he had known, he would have chosen more advanced titles. She then tells him that if he is done, he should head out. He leaves quickly, feeling embarrassed and wondering how he can show his face there again. Right outside, he bumps straight into Rabin. Their heads knock together. He apologizes at once and calls her by name. She scolds him for walking without looking. He apologizes again. She asks whether he has seen anyone suspicious. Then she studies him, grabs his arm, and says this will not do, that she needs to check something properly. He asks where she is dragging him. She explains that since gods are descending directly into humans, they should search crowded areas first. He says she is very smart for thinking that way. She asks why he is being oddly evasive. He says there is nothing to explain. A memory surfaces, and he comments that she used to look cute back then. She asks if she is not cute now as well. She then remembers something else and points out that among the people at school connected to him, there are also delinquents. He agrees nervously. Noticing his expression, she asks if he feels okay. He says that his chest suddenly hurts. He assures her it is nothing serious and says he will visit the infirmary and come back soon. After he leaves, Rabin overhears some thugs talking and thinks that one of them might be a Zodiac host. She follows and hears them asking if everyone is gathered and why some arrived late. She hears them question what happened to Sazine and the others and whether it was really a bicycle accident, like the teacher claimed. A boy answers that it probably was not and that rumors say someone beat them badly and sent them to the hospital. Rabin is shocked. Her shock deepens when she sees a boy get thrown through the air, revealing that the attacker is a girl with glasses. Meanwhile, in the infirmary, Wuju asks the doctor if he can leave. She says no and moves closer in a way that makes him uneasy. She says the treatment is not finished and starts unbuttoning his shirt, repeating that the treatment is not done, which leaves him confused. Earlier, he had walked the hallway wondering why his chest felt so tight. He entered the infirmary and called for the doctor. When he saw her, he apologized because she was adjusting her stockings. She explained that they had a hole. His heart started racing, and he wondered why it felt so intense, like fear, though he insists to himself that it is not fear but something different. She takes hold of him and asks if he came because his chest hurts. Hearing that makes the burning sensation worse. He confirms that it suddenly started. She places a hand on his chest and asks if the pain is there. She says it feels like burning around the solar plexus and that she has a guess what it is. She tells him to sit immediately. He obeys, thinking she is just doing a checkup. Though he worries about her strange tone, she corrects him and tells him to sit on the examination table instead and hurry. Startled, he complies. She instructs him to remove his shirt. When he hesitates, she warns that otherwise she will remove it herself. He quickly says he will do it. She touches his chest with one finger and repeats the question about the pain. Then she reveals that she cast a resonance spell and that his dizziness comes from not being used to divine power yet. She adds that later such a crude method will not work on him. He asks what she means. He tries to tell her to wait, but she whispers that he is lucky. Her form begins to change, and she says she will make it hurt now. She reveals a monstrous shape and prepares a tail-like weapon to strike, but Wuju manages to dodge. Elsewhere, the glasses-wearing girl continues attacking students. Others rush to help a fallen boy and demand to know who she is. She shifts her stance, strikes again, and transforms further, exposing her true nature as she grabs a student by the neck. The boy cries out for help. She studies him briefly, then drops him only to pin him down with her foot. When he asks why she is doing this, she says she needs no reason to hit people and continues the assault. Rabin watches all of it unfold while trying to call Wuju. When he does not answer, she wonders what he is doing at such a critical time. A sudden scream startles her, and she drops her phone. The transformed girl notices the sound and looks toward Rabin's direction, but before she can spot her, Rabin slips away and hides. Wuju is still panting when the infirmary doctor calmly admits that she had intended to dispose of him without pain, then wonders aloud whether she now has to kill him slowly instead. Terror hits him all at once. He screams and bolts out of the infirmary, and at the same time the snake woman lunges after him in pursuit. As he runs, Wuju catches glimpses of her closing in and wonders if she is another host. He scans desperately for somewhere to hide, spots an empty classroom, and slips inside. He holds his breath and stays still for a few seconds. To his surprise, the burning pressure in his chest fades away. Even with the pain easing, he has no idea what to do next. He barely has time to think before the snake woman finds him anyway, using an ability that tracks the heat radiating from his body. She strikes, but Wuju manages to dodge at the last second. The woman looks at him with certainty and says that she has already found him. Wuju's mind goes cold, and he thinks it is over. Then Rabin appears, grabs him, and drags him into a sprint before the snake can finish the attack. While being pulled along, Wuju asks why Rabin has returned to that transformed state. Rabin answers that she does not know why it happened. She explains that she heard him scream and came to check on him. Still gripping his hand, she demands to know what that was, and what kind of monster the school doctor turned into. Wuju blurts out that he went to the infirmary, and the doctor suddenly started taking off her stockings. Realizing how that sounds, he changes his story mid-sentence and says that the doctor told him to sit on the examination table. Rabin is instantly irritated. She yanks him by the shirt and asks what kind of situation he managed to stumble into. Wuju insists that the details do not matter right now. He says he cannot believe the school doctor is also a host. Rabin responds that she thinks she found one too. Before she can explain, the snake lashes out and catches Rabin by the leg. The rabbit spirit inside Rabin cries out for Wuju as Rabin is dragged back. The snake coils tighter, wrapping Rabin until she can barely move. The rabbit spirit complains that the sensation is disgusting. The doctor mocks the lack of respect in how they speak to a lady, bares her fangs and leans toward Rabin's face as if she intends to bite. Rabin freezes helpless and Wuju panics. At that moment, the rabbit spirit slips out of Rabin's body. The snake snatches it up immediately. She says that since it is only a rabbit, its divine power is probably low. She admits it has grown a little, but still calls it nothing more than a small appetizer. Rabin reaches toward the rabbit spirit in desperation. The snake says she will dispose of the appetizer first, then take her time enjoying the main course. Before she can bite down, a window shatters. A figure crashes through and kicks the snake square in the face. Wuju stares, stunned, and then recognizes who it is. It is Nenah. Nenah notices Wuju and greets him as if she simply walked in. Wuju asks how she managed to get to the school. Rabin, seeing Nenah, weakly comments that the cat is a thief, and then faints. Wuju tells Nenah to take Rabin because she does not look well. Nenah replies that fainting cannot be avoided and explains that the snake absorbed all of Rabin's divine power. Nenah adds that she will deal with Rabin first and explain everything later. Wuju asks if Nenah intends to handle the snake herself. Nenah answers that the snake is nothing more than a punching bag, then launches into the fight. Watching her charge, Wuju tries to steady himself with logic. He thinks that a snake's reaction time is around 4 milliseconds while a cat's is around 20, so maybe they can actually win. His hope vanishes in an instant when Nenah is hurled back toward him and slams into a pillar. Wuju asks if she is alright. Nenah admits that, just like he suspected, it is already too late. She tells him to take the rabbit spirit for now. Wuju asks why. Nenah, annoyed, snaps that the reason should be obvious and says it is so they can run. She grabs him and sprints at full speed away from the snake. As they flee, Wuju blurts out that Rabin fainted, the school nurse turned into a monster, and none of it makes sense. Nenah says it is exactly what she told him earlier: the snake stole Rabin's divine power. Wuju asks what divine power even is, and the snake nearly catches them in that moment, closing the distance with terrifying speed. Nenah explains while running that divine power is the vital energy granted by the heavens, the source that fuels a divine spirit. She says that originally a spirit can draw nearly limitless strength from nature, but once the race begins and they descend to Earth, they lose that access. If their original divine power runs out, they become powerless. Wuju asks what they are supposed to do then. Nenah continues, saying that spirits can burn the host's own vital energy or steal divine power from other spirits. She says that is exactly what happened here. Wuju asks if Rabin fainted because her divine power was drained. Nenah confirms it and adds that Rabin can recover naturally over time. Nenah also mentions that there is another way to restore it. Relief flashes through Wuju and he asks what the other way is. Nenah cuts him off and says this is not the time to worry about Rabin. She stops abruptly, turns to face their pursuer, and says that they are in serious trouble right now. The snake attacks. The blow is so violent that it cracks the school structure and flings them apart, sending one flying to one side and the other to the opposite side. Wuju lands hard, scrambling to his feet, and shouts Nenah's name while asking if she is injured. Nenah curses under her breath and says that given the circumstances, he should at least run and escape. Wuju does not understand. Nenah explains that he may not realize it yet, but his body has become the judge. She says that he is now in a state where infinite divine power overflows from him like a river. She adds that the snake likely does not want to participate in the race at all. Nenah suggests the snake wants to become the strongest monster by devouring the judge. Wuju processes it with sick dread and realizes that he is basically an energy generator that everyone wants. He immediately says that if that is the case, he can simply give them his divine power. Nenah sharply tells him not to do that. She explains that the only way to steal the judge's divine power is to devour the judge completely, and that would mean Wuju's death. Wuju is left hollow. Realizing there is nothing he can offer without dying, Nenah steps in front of him and declares that if the snake catches him, the race ends. She says she will try to hold the snake back and orders him to run. She dives into combat again. The clash is brutal. Nenah moves fast, but she realizes she does not have enough power to actually injure her opponent. Wuju glances toward the exit, but his feet refuse to move. He thinks he cannot abandon Nenah there. Nenah dodges a strike, but it is a trap. The snake's tail whips around and catches her. The snake says she has Nenah now. She draws closer and mocks Nenah, saying that when cornered she acts like a rat, the animal she hates most. Nenah snaps that the snake talks too much. The response enrages the snake. She squeezes tighter and calls Nenah hairy nuisance, ordering her to quietly become food. The snake lunges in to bite. Wuju screams Nenah's name. What drops into his arms is Nenah's limp body. Her divine power is gone and she faints. The snake thanks her for the meal and says her power is now overflowing. She boasts that with so much power, perhaps she can become the new sky. Even while fading, Nenah calls Wuju an idiot and reminds him that she told him to run. Wuju still does not move. He looks at the two unconscious girls, Nenah and Rabin, while the snake begins to glow with rising power. Wuju thinks that this happened because he is weak. The snake comments again that power is overflowing within her and that she feels renewed. Her form shifts into her true shape, a massive cobra. She looks at Wuju and tells him not to be too sad, because she plans to swallow all of them together. She lunges to attack. Wuju's mind fills with guilt. He thinks that everything is his fault, and he wishes, desperately, that he had even a little more strength. He cries out that he is sorry for everyone. Before the cobra can reach him, a brilliant light erupts. The glow floods the space, and in that instant it becomes clear that Wuju has stopped the attack. Nenah, barely conscious, stares at him in disbelief, not understanding what she is seeing. The snake recoils and shouts that it is impossible, demanding to know what that is. Nenah, shocked, asks how such a thing is possible. The cobra snarls that Nenah should not distract her, especially when faced with that kind of power. A second version of Wuju, radiant and composed, steps forward and declares that the snake will participate in the race. As soon as he says it, a luminous circle forms above the serpent spirit, flooding the entire area with blinding light. Far away, in what feels like another place entirely, Wuju slowly regains consciousness. He looks around in confusion and wonders where he is, questioning whether everything that happened was only a dream. He notices someone ahead of him, and wonders if it is Nenah. He calls out, but when he tries to reach her, she passes straight through him as if he were nothing more than air. Startled, he asks himself what just happened. Driven by curiosity, he follows her. He asks where she is going and where exactly they are. As he watches more closely, he wonders what has caught her attention. Nenah is hiding nearby, observing a couple walking with their children. She watches them with visible fascination. There is something in her expression that looks almost wistful. Then the man notices her staring. Frightened, Nenah turns and runs. The man chases her and quickly catches up. When she turns back toward him, tears are streaming down her face. Wuju sees her crying and wonders why she looks so sad. Before he can understand what it means, the scene dissolves. He wakes up abruptly in the real world. At his side lies Rabin. On the other side is the school nurse. The sight makes him jerk upright in alarm, asking what is going on. Nenah, standing nearby, asks whether he is finally awake. At the same time, she casually punishes the small snake spirit, pinning it down. Wuju demands to know what she is doing. Nenah replies that she is simply serving a plate of justice to that little creature. The snake complains that it hurts. Nenah retorts that it hurt her too. Wuju stares and asks if that is truly the same snake from before. Nenah confirms it and explains that the host of the creature is the nurse. Wuju recalls the monstrous cobra and asks whether hosts can truly become beasts that devour others. Nenah explains that the snake regained its original form by absorbing both her divine power and the rabbit's. She says that what happened was complete possession. The divine spirit fully took control, leaving the host no longer in her right mind. In that state, she explains, the host acts according to the deepest desires of the divine spirit and their own suppressed impulses. Wuju asks if that means the nurse secretly wished to become some kind of supreme being. Nenah shakes her head and clarifies that the nurse's own spiritual energy was extremely weak, which allowed the snake's desires to dominate completely. The snake, still restrained, says that she was lucky in that with just a little more time, everything would have ended. Nenah scolds her harshly, calling her shameless for nearly ruining the race. Wuju then remembers the moment before he was devoured and asks how Nenah managed to defeat the snake when he had been completely cornered. The snake also brings it up, demanding to know what that mysterious power was. Nenah hesitates and says that perhaps it was that power, but then corrects herself and says it must have been the judge's power. She explains that she does not fully understand it either, but sometimes the judge gains a special ability in order to force divine spirits to participate in the race. Wuju asks if that means he carries something divine inside him. Nenah answers yes and reminds him that this is why he survived falling from such a height earlier. Relieved that everyone is alive, Wuju asks if Rabin and the nurse will wake up soon. Nenah's expression turns serious. She asks why he speaks so lightly about it and warns him that if they are left as they are, they could die. His heart drops. He asks whether they are not simply unconscious. Nenah explains that Rabin lost all her divine power, and the nurse was on the verge of complete possession. In such conditions, she says, they cannot simply wake up on their own. The rabbit spirit adds that in the worst-case scenario, their lives are truly at risk. The snake, subdued now, admits that she was overwhelmed with excitement upon descending to the human world after so long, and that she dragged innocent humans into the chaos. Nenah comments that she understands. For a divine spirit, she says divine power is like an addictive herb. Once tasted, it is hard to resist. Wuju silently compares it to a dangerous drug. Then he stands abruptly and asks what they should do. Nenah tells him not to panic. She says that there is a walking treasure of divine power right here. He asks where. She steps forward and taps the glowing symbol embedded in the center of his chest. Wuju frowns, remembering that she previously said giving away his divine power could cost him his life. He reminds her that she claimed the only way to steal it was to devour the judge entirely. Nenah calls him overly cautious and clarifies that stealing divine power by force requires devouring the judge. However, she explains that a host is like a vessel that can contain divine power. To exceed the vessel's limits would require consuming him, but sharing divine power in controlled amounts is possible. Wuju realizes that this could save Rabin and Nenah. Without hesitation, he asks how he can share it. Nenah takes his hand and says that it works like this. As she moves closer, he nervously tells her not to joke. She assures him that she is serious. She then tells him to take Rabin's hand as well. He does. Immediately the rabbit spirit begins to glow, saying that divine power is flowing into her. Wuju asks if this is truly working. Nenah confirms that direct contact with the judge, aside from natural recovery, is the only way to restore divine power. Wuju then asks how long they must remain like this. Nenah replies that they will need to stay connected until morning. She adds that the nurse requires the same treatment. She casually remarks that it seems they will have to sleep like that. Wuju stiffens and wonders how he is supposed to sleep sandwiched between two women. Before he can protest further, Nenah jumps on him and says that she wants more divine power too, adding that the warmth feels pleasant. Wuju flusters and asks whether they truly must remain like this all night. Elsewhere, in a neat bedroom, a mother calls to her daughter and asks her not to lock herself inside. She urges her to come out. The girl, however, sits eating and wonders how she could possibly go to school looking like this. The spirit of the pig has taken residence within her, the same girl who once bullied Wuju. At the same time, near the school gym, another figure appears. That person begins activating their power. Clouds gather unnaturally overhead, swirling tighter and tighter. A storm forms and lightning begins to strike, eventually slamming down directly onto the gym. Back in Wuju's room, he remains wide awake. The situation feels unbearably awkward. He wonders whether their divine power has fully recovered yet. He studies the heart-shaped mark on his chest and imagines it as a battery indicator, reflecting how much energy remains. He begins to feel drained and suspects that sharing sacred energy comes with fatigue. He remembers how close they came to dying. He wonders what might happen next time and concludes that he must prepare himself. He briefly considers waking them but decides against it. They are sleeping deeply and he chooses to wait. After a while, his leg goes numb. He stretches it carefully, but the movement causes Nenah to shift closer. Suddenly her face is inches from his. He notices how close they are, close enough to kiss. He wonders whether that might happen. He admits to himself that his first kiss should be with someone he truly likes. At that exact moment, a thunderbolt crashes outside. Rabin jolts awake and immediately sees the two of them nearly face to face. Shock spreads across her expression. Wuju notices her reaction. Rabin jumps up and demands an explanation. Wuju insists that it is not what it looks like. Rabin accuses him of trying to kiss Nenah while she was asleep. He protests that it is a misunderstanding and insists that they did not kiss. Then Rabin notices something else. She asks whether the woman lying beside them is not the school nurse and demands to know what she is doing there. The nurse suddenly wakes as well, asking where she is. All of them stare at one another and then scream simultaneously. Later the nurse, now dressed in Rabin's spare clothes, introduces herself properly as Huigin. She asks if Nenah is truly the cat who restarted the 12 Zodiac tournament thousands of years ago. She asks if Guju is truly the judge of that tournament. She asks whether the people around them have become hosts possessed by animal spirits. She recounts that she remembers losing control and that he had to stop her, forcing her to participate in the tournament. Rabin comments that it would be natural for an adult not to believe such an unbelievable story, admitting that even she doubted it at first. Huijin shakes her head and says that she does believe them. Rabin looks surprised. The nurse explains that she can see the spirit clearly before her eyes. Although her memory is fragmented, she feels certain they are not lying. Most importantly, she says she senses a connection to that small serpent spirit. She adds that the sketches she made recently now make more sense, though they are still confusing. Nenah, slightly embarrassed, says that details aside, what truly matters is that if the 12 Zodiac tournament does not begin properly within 100 days, none of them will return to normal lives. Huijin nods and says she understands. As a teacher, she cannot stand by while her students are in danger. She says that if there is anything she can do to help, they only need to tell her. Wuju thanks her sincerely and admits that hearing those words gives him strength. Without warning, Jin unbuttons part of her shirt and leans closer to examine the glowing mark on Wuju's chest. As she studies it, the symbol begins to shine more brightly. She asks whether, without knowing the names of the 12 zodiac spirits, the details of the game will remain hidden. Wuju, flustered, asks what she is doing and why she suddenly moves so close. Jin quickly apologizes. She explains that she became curious when he referred to everything as a game and wanted to understand the mechanism behind it. Wuju nods, realizing she is thinking like a teacher trying to analyze a problem. A moment later, she looks startled and asks whether they should not already be at school. Wuju gently reminds her that it is Saturday. She thanks him with mild embarrassment and then collapses backward onto the bed, exhausted. Watching her, Wuju reflects that beneath everything, the nurse is still just an ordinary person caught up in something beyond her control. Jin then comments that if all the possessed students attend the same school, perhaps they are causing trouble outside campus during the weekend. Nenah remarks that if that is true, it might actually make their search easier. Rabin suddenly says that she discovered another host the previous day. Wuju apologizes, admitting that they interrupted her before she could explain. Rabin continues, saying that based on the shape of the horn she saw, she suspects the spirit might be the sheep. She recalls witnessing that person beating up several school delinquents. Nenah frowns and says that the sheep spirit is not normally violent. She suggests that perhaps it is acting in accordance with the host's personal desires, which would make the situation even more dangerous. She asks whether Rabin saw the person's face clearly. Rabin answers that the individual wore a mask, so she could not identify them. Nenah presses her, asking whether she noticed any other distinctive feature. Rabin hesitates and says that she remembers square glasses, though she admits she is not completely certain. Wuju falls into thought. Elsewhere, rain pours down heavily. A girl wearing glasses and a mask crouches under the storm and places something on the ground. Not far away, a very large customer rushes into a convenience store, grabs armfuls of junk food, and thinks that no matter how much she eats, she is always starving. At the register, the cashier with square glasses watches her carefully. The customer snaps at her, telling her to stop daydreaming and hurry up. The cashier rings up the items in silence. The woman leaves, bumping clumsily into umbrellas near the exit. After a brief pause, the cashier removes her mask. In a low voice, she says that she has found her. Back at Wuju's house, he continues thinking about the person with square glasses. He admits that no matter how hard he tries, he cannot recall anyone matching that description. Rabin calls his name with growing concern, pulling him out of his thoughts. Before he can respond, Jin steps between them and laughs softly, saying that they all look exhausted. She suggests that after such a difficult day, they should rest. She adds that since they have no idea what might happen next, rushing forward blindly would be foolish. It would be better to regroup and proceed carefully. Rabin admits that she feels uncomfortable because she has not showered since the previous day. She picks up her phone and freezes. 3 missed calls from her mother. Several messages as well. When she calls back, her mother immediately demands to know where she has been and why she did not answer. Her mother scolds her loudly and harshly. Rabin quickly explains that she fell asleep at Wuju's house while doing homework. Her mother grows even more upset, accusing her of inappropriate behavior. Rabin hurriedly insists that it is not what she thinks. After that, Jin prepares to leave. She tells them to inform her immediately if anything else happens. Wuju nods and wishes her a safe trip home. He also tells Rabin to be careful. Rabin responds that he must contact her right away if something happens. Nenah cuts in, warning Rabin to be cautious around anyone acting strangely. Rabin replies irritably that she already understands. As soon as Rabin turns to leave, Nenah suddenly grabs Wuju and shakes him, telling him to remember. He looks completely bewildered. Rabin watches this scene, her irritation rising, and walks away angrily, leaving Wuju confused. On her way home, Rabin replays the image of Wuju nearly kissing Nenah. She admits to herself that every time she sees them together, something twists inside her. She wonders why it bothers her so much. It feels suspiciously like jealousy. Back at the house, Nenah mutters that Rabin is cute. Wuju asks whether she said something. Nenah glances sideways at him, jumps onto him, and says it is nothing. She quickly changes the subject, declaring that she is hungry and asking for food. Wuju says he will prepare something, thinking that taking care of a cat cannot be that difficult. However, when he checks the pantry, he finds it empty. He realizes that with another mouth to feed, he must have run out of supplies. He announces that he is going to the convenience store and asks whether Nenah wants to come. She refuses, sounding annoyed. He reminds her that she was excited to go out before. She replies that it is raining and she hates rain. He nods and tells her he will return soon, asking her to wait. Wuju steps outside into the heavy rain and heads toward the store. The downpour is stronger than he expected. Distracted by his thoughts, he collides with someone. It is the girl from the store. They both crouch to pick up the fallen items while she curses under her breath. After gathering everything, she leaves quickly. Wuju remains standing there, Thinking that her voice sounded familiar, almost like Hiji's, he immediately dismisses the thought because her appearance is completely different. Then suspicion creeps in. If she is a host of a divine spirit, that could explain a drastic physical transformation. He decides to follow her. As he does, he senses another presence. Turning around, he sees Jian. He recalls Rabin's description of someone beating up delinquents while wearing square glasses. He begins to suspect that the host Rabin mentioned could be Jian. Meanwhile, Hiji continues running. She senses that someone is following her and stops briefly, but then accelerates again. The feeling of being hunted grows unbearable. She shouts for whoever it is to leave her alone. She curses and demands that they reveal themselves, insisting she noticed them trailing her since the store. Jian steps into view. In a cold tone, she remarks that Heiji's tough attitude does not match her appearance. Without hesitation, she reveals her transformed state and declares that she intends to eliminate her. Hiji screams and runs with all her strength. Jian pursues relentlessly. When Hiji reaches her apartment building, she frantically presses the elevator button, begging it to hurry. The doors finally open and she throws herself inside. As the doors begin to close, she sees Jian nearly reaching her, but the doors shut just in time. Breathless, Hiji wonders what is happening. A voice suddenly speaks from inside the elevator. Startled, she falls to the floor. When the doors open again, she trembles and begs whoever it is not to come closer. She thinks she is about to die and laments that she never even had a proper date. A hand extends toward her. It is Muju. He asks whether she is all right. He cautiously asks if she is Hiji. The girl denies it immediately, covering her face and insisting that he has mistaken her for someone else. She runs toward her apartment door. Muju calls for her to wait. She curses him and tells him not to follow her. She hurriedly enters her password and slips inside, but he stops the door before it can close. Hiji hits his arm repeatedly, telling him he is wrong and calling him an idiot. Muju winces and says that he knows it is her because only she calls him that. She retorts that everyone at school calls him that and demands to know why he has been following her. He explains that he saw someone else tailing her and was worried. She asks whether he was truly worried about her. He confirms it. He explains that recently someone has been attacking school bullies. When he saw her earlier, he hesitated because her size looked different, but then he realized someone was stalking her. Heiji explodes, demanding how he dares call her big, and shoves the door harder against his arm. He cries out in pain. She pauses, wondering if she used too much strength. In that moment of distraction, Muju pulls the door. Heiji loses her balance and falls on top of him. She quickly asks whether he is okay. He replies that she is heavy and he cannot move. Her eyes well with tears. She begins to cry, asking what she is supposed to do. She says that even now she has to endure comments like that from him. She wonders how she gained so much weight in just a few days. Muju remembers the night the Zodiac spirits descended. He says that he might be able to help her with that. Before he can continue, the elevator begins rising again. Heiji panics, fearing it is her pursuer. Muju feels the tension too and says they should go inside first. They rush into her apartment and shut the door. Muju says that this will at least buy them some time. He thinks that if Heiji truly is a participant, she must have special powers like Rabin and Jin. He studies her and asks whether she has noticed any other changes besides weight gain. She asks what other change he expects. He clarifies that he means strange abilities. She replies that she has simply been able to eat enormous amounts lately. He asks whether that is truly all. She snaps back, asking what else she is supposed to do. Muju considers that she may not yet be aware of her powers. He thinks that if she formally participates in the competition, the protective spirit within her might reveal itself, allowing her to control her abilities just like the others. Then he remembers Jian's transformation and admits to himself that it is hard to believe she could be the culprit. He wonders whether this situation mirrors what happened with the nurse. Considering Jian's personality, he feels deeply conflicted. Just then, someone knocks on the door. It is Jian. Her voice calmly instructs them to open up. Heiji panics and collapses onto the floor. Outside, the knocking grows louder and more forceful. Muju feels his chest tighten again, but this time it is fear, not pain. He tells himself that panicking will only make things worse. Rabin is not here. Nenah is not here. He has to handle this alone. He quickly concludes that the only option left is to trust Hiji. He says that he has an idea and starts to explain. But before he can finish, Hiji bolts into her bedroom and slams the door, leaving him standing in the middle of the apartment. Muju rushes to the door and asks her to open it. From inside, she shouts that she refuses and that she will call the police to deal with both the person outside and him. Muju says he cannot explain everything right now, and besides, this is not something the police can fix. He begs her again to come out. Inside the room, Hiji trembles. She wonders aloud why these kinds of things always happen to her. Her thoughts drift to earlier that week. She remembers going to meet her friends. One of them had asked who she was. She had stared at them in disbelief and asked if they truly did not recognize her. The boy had replied that he did not know anyone like her and that they were waiting for another friend, so she should leave. She had insisted that she was the friend they were waiting for. Before she could convince them, the group had started whispering about how strange it was that Hiji suddenly could not be reached. They had complained that she asked them to meet at her house like they were her subordinates. One of the boys had said they should just be patient because she had always been selfish. He had admitted that he only invited her to play games because she was pretty, and now that she acted arrogant, if not for her looks and body, no one would bother with her. Hearing that had broken something inside her, she had turned and left in tears. Back in the present, Wooju raises his voice gently and tells her to listen to him first. He says that she is confused because her body changed suddenly and because someone is following her. He insists that he can explain why it happened. She just has to trust him because he has a solution. From behind the door, she asks if that is really true. He says that it is and once again asks her to open the door. She hesitates, then asks why he is helping her at all. He answers that he cannot stand by and watch his friend be in danger. That word, friend, hits her harder than anything else. She thinks about how cruel she has been to him in the past, yet he is still here trying to protect her. She stands up slowly, changes out of her soaked clothes, and opens the door. Facing him, she asks whether this can really be called friendship. Before he can respond, she bursts into tears. She says that not even her own friends recognized her after she changed so much, but he did. Wooju smiles awkwardly and says of course he did. He asks if there are many people who could pull off pink hair like hers. Her heart softens at that. Then he mutters that maybe he recognized her by her scent instead. She punches him instantly. Outside, Jian steps back from the apartment door. Horn-like shapes form as she prepares to smash through it. Wooju quickly says that this is not the time for jokes. He understands the risk, but the situation leaves him no choice. The animal spirit inside Hiji must be the pig. He declares firmly that she will participate in the Zodiac trial. Light bursts from Hiji's body. A small pig spirit emerges, blinking in mild confusion. The pig says that he more or less understands the situation and asks how Wooju dared to summon him under such chaotic conditions. Then he calmly instructs Hiji to take part in the Zodiac trial. He adds that it was a wise decision and praises Wooju as an excellent referee. Hiji stares at the floating pig and asks in horror whether it can talk. The pig replies that they have struggled long enough and that it is time to leave things in her hands. He dives back into her body, and brilliant light surrounds her. At that exact moment, Jian crashes through the front door. The broken wood flies inward as she charges, only to be blinded by the light. She attacks immediately. Hiji blocks the strike. To Jian's shock, Hiji counters with overwhelming force, knocking her off balance and slamming her into the floor. Wooju stares and thinks that this must be the power of the pig. He recalls that people wrongly assume pigs are just fat animals. In reality, a pig's body fat is around 13%, while muscle mass can account for nearly 50% of its weight. If Hiji now weighs around 100 kilograms, that means she carries roughly 50 kilograms of muscle, not even counting spiritual power. Hiji kicks Jian, sending the goat spirit host crashing backward. She declares that it is over and prepares another attack, but Jian is fast. She dodges and counters from the side. Wooju blurts out that her strength is literally equal to a pig's. Hiji yells at him to stop calling her a pig. Her distraction gives Jian an opening. Jihan notices Wooju's presence as well. Hiji panics, jumps back and crashes onto a table, breaking it in half. She stares at the wreckage and asks whether she really weighs that much. Jian narrows her eyes at Wooju, wondering why he is there. She leaps toward the window and balances at its edge. Hiji shouts that she is insane and that since she destroyed the front door, she should at least take responsibility before leaving. Wooju tells her to wait, pointing out that it is still raining and dangerous. Jian says that the pig is lucky this time. Then she jumps out the window. Hiji screams that she could die, but Jian uses the building's air conditioning units as footholds, disappearing into the storm. Hiji's strength begins to fade. The pig's spirit's voice murmurs that it is a relief they are safe for now. Suddenly, she throws herself at Wooju, crying that they survived. He tells her to calm down. She calls him stupid and insists they are finally safe. He gently tells her to listen first and asks her to fix her clothes. She looks down and realizes that after losing the excess weight, her clothes hang loosely off her body. Blushing fiercely, she shouts at him not to look. He covers his eyes and tells her they should go to his house. She immediately asks what he is implying. He panics and says that is not what he meant. She looks around at the destroyed apartment and exclaims that her life is over. Later at Wooju's house, Nenah complains weakly that she might faint soon. When she hears the door open, she perks up and assumes food has arrived. Instead, Wooju enters with Hiji beside him. Nenah sniffs and asks whether he brought home a pig. She comments that the girl smells delicious. Hiji explodes in anger. Wooju awkwardly says that Nenah is technically correct. Nenah shrugs and says she only wanted food, but instead he brought something else. She repeats that he is an excellent referee. Hiji demands to know who Nenah is and why she is inside Wooju's house. Before he can answer, a stack of food containers falls. Rabin steps in and freezes when she sees Hiji next to Wooju. She asks what Hiji is doing there. Hiji shoots back the same question and adds that she brought food. Then she laughs and says that the rumor about them living together must be true. Nenah immediately begins biting into the food containers to open them. Wooju raises his voice and tells everyone to calm down and listen. After explaining everything yet again, he sighs and wonders how many times he must repeat the same story. Rabin mutters that she told him to show them the drawings, which he apparently thought unnecessary. Hiji scoffs at the idea of a Zodiac trial. She calls it nonsense and asks whether her body is truly possessed by a protective spirit. She questions why she must be involved at all and how anyone can believe such madness. The pig spirit appears again and tells her to calm down, calling her Pink Piglet and confirming that everything they said is true. She shouts that she is not a pig but him. Then her body swells again into the chubby form. She panics and demands to return to normal. The pig retreats back inside her, and her body changes back. Rabin asks whether the participant she saw fighting at school was truly Jian and whether Wooju knows her. He admits that he does. He says she volunteers at the library regularly. Rabin says she had no idea he knew someone like that, especially someone so dangerous. Wooju insists that Jian is not normally like this and that she is not exactly his close friend. He says that from what he knows, she does not seem like a bad person. Nenah slams her hand on the table and declares that based on today's events, Jiun is clearly a dangerous participant. However, she adds that they now have a numerical advantage and should use it. She announces a plan called the Goat Shepherd Mission. She explains that Jihyun's fury seems directed at people who bothered Wooju. That is their only clue. Hiji, embarrassed, asks when she ever bothered him, claiming she was only joking. Rabin replies that she was the only one who thought it was a joke. Nenah continues, saying that while the goat searches for bait at school, they will come out of hiding and confront her. She says that Wooju must act as the bait. She calls him Little Shepherd. He asks if it truly has to be him. She confirms it. He asks why. She replies that it is the only workable strategy, since the goat appears obsessed with him. He can say he wants to speak to her privately, or use any excuse, but the goal is to lure her out. Nenah admits there is no guarantee the plan will succeed. She asks whether there is any alternative that avoids violence. Then she remembers something crucial. She reminds them that only 100 days were given at the start, but corrects herself. 90 days remain to gather all 12 Zodiac hosts. If they fail, Wooju will die. She says they have been lucky so far because several participants are already connected to him, but there is no guarantee it will continue. If someone hides or if hosts fight among themselves, the race could collapse before it truly begins. Therefore, the priority is to locate every participant and force them to appear in the Zodiac trial, no matter what it takes. Silence follows. Hiji raises her hand and says she agrees. She adds that she will not be satisfied until she gets revenge on the goat for destroying her house. Then her expression shifts as she remembers her parents will return soon. Her phone rings. When she answers, her mother bombards her with furious accusations. Hiji jumps up and asks her mother to wait a moment, saying she can explain everything. She hurriedly asks whether the police are there and insists she has not been kidnapped. Wooju quietly asks whether the gymnasium was also destroyed during their earlier fight. Rabin confirms it. She adds that if security cameras captured them, they could be arrested. Wooju shakes his head and says the police would not be the real problem. He says that if footage of a giant serpent appears, the army would get involved. Rabin's eyes widen as she wonders whether the videos might already be airing on the news. Nenah steps between them and reminds everyone that the priority is still the Zodiac trial. Rabin stares at her and asks how she can stay so calm after everything that has happened. Nearby, Hiji is still on the phone with her mother, repeatedly asking her to trust her. Her mother keeps cursing at her and threatens to send her to her aunt's house. Hiji complains that she does not want to go because she feels uncomfortable there. She says she would rather sleep at a friend's house. The moment she says that, the room falls silent. Hiji breaks the silence with a smile and asks Wooju if he has a spare blanket he is not using. Rabin reacts in disbelief and asks whether Hiji has lost her mind. Wooju immediately tells both of them to calm down. Before the argument can grow, Nenah hops onto Wooju and demands that they eat first. She says she is so hungry she feels like she might faint. Right then, Rabin's mother enters the apartment, asking why Rabin took so long if she only went to bring food. She stops when she sees the strange scene in front of her. Hiji greets her politely. Soon everyone is seated around a table piled high with food, and even Nenah is eating. Rabin's mother brings in a pot and says that if they plan to invite a friend, they should have warned her. She explains that she made soup as well and warmly offers Hiji a serving. Hiji thanks her with perfect manners. Rabin, visibly annoyed, insists that Hiji is not her friend and asks why her mother cooked so much. Her mother snaps back, telling her to stop complaining and eat quietly. Hiji wastes no time and starts eating at full speed. Rabin scolds her and asks whether she wants everyone to see her as a pig. Hiji fires back, asking whether Rabin has been flirting with Wooju this entire time. Rabin blushes hard, demands to know what she is talking about, and tells her to shut up. While they bicker, Wooju sits there wondering if they are really arguing about him. Hiji finishes her plate until it is spotless and thanks everyone for the meal, saying it was delicious. Rabin's mother smiles and says she must have been truly hungry. Rabin looks down at her own stomach, then at Hiji's, and silently wonders where all the food went. She grudgingly admits to herself that she envies a pig's stomach. Rabin then asks whether Hiji is going straight to her aunt's house. Hiji says yes, but complains that she feels lazy because her relatives will compare her to her cousin the entire time. Rabin suggests she sleep at another friend's house instead, but Hiji says she does not have any friends as close as Wooju. That leaves Rabin speechless. After a pause, Rabin reluctantly offers to let Hiji sleep over. Hiji looks embarrassed and asks how she could possibly sleep at before Rabin quickly clarifies that she means sleeping in Rabin's room. Hiji asks if she really can. Rabin says that if Hiji does not want to, it is fine. Hiji immediately thanks her with obvious excitement. All of this happens right in front of Wooju. He smiles faintly as he walks Nenah back home afterward. That night, rain taps against the windows while Rabin and Hiji brush their teeth side by side in the bathroom. Rabin hands her a toothbrush and tells her to use that one. Hiji agrees. When they are done, Rabin flops onto the bed while Hiji spreads a blanket on the floor. Rabin tells her to sleep in the bed with her. Hiji asks if she is allowed to. They settle down, but then Hiji suddenly jolts upright. She asks if Wooju has been sleeping with the cat girl every night. She sounds genuinely worried and asks Rabin if she is truly okay with that. Rabin looks at her like she is ridiculous and asks what kind of thoughts she is having. Rabin explains that even if Nenah looks human, she is still a cat. Hiji counters that boys do not care about details like that, leaving Rabin momentarily speechless. Hiji then softens and tells Rabin she does not have to pretend she is fine. She asks if what happened earlier scared her. She says anyone would be stunned by something that irrational and admits that she was shaken too. She encourages Rabin to at least sleep peacefully for now. Hiji stays quiet for a moment, then tells Rabin that she thinks Rabin is cool too. She confesses that she used to think Rabin was just the annoying skinny girl in class. Rabin blushes and tells her to shut up and go to sleep. The next morning, Hiji is still asleep when Wooju appears. He comments that she has terrible sleeping habits. Hiji wakes with a scream when she sees him. She demands to know why he is there so early. Rabin calmly informs her that it is already noon. Hiji asks why Rabin looks exhausted like that. Rabin answers that it is Hiji's fault and remembers the previous night without explaining further. Before they can continue, Rabin's mother calls out. Rabin thinks it must be time for Hiji to go home. As Wooju walks Hiji back, he comments that her house was cleaned up surprisingly fast. Hiji nods, then suddenly asks why they are holding hands like that. Wooju explains that he already told her it is so she can recharge her strength. Nenah appears and remarks that it would not have been necessary if Hiji had simply slept while holding hands with them the previous night. Hiji immediately says that would have been even weirder and adds that she could have gone home alone. Nenah replies that it is for safety, in case someone attacks her on the way. When they arrive, Wooju says that since the situation reached the police, Jian will not dare to attack for now. Nenah tells them that they will meet again tomorrow to plan their next strategy. She tells Hiji not to stay up too late. Hiji promises she will not. Before they turn away, Hiji calls Wooju's name. He turns. Hiji thanks him for saving her, blushing as she speaks. Then she runs toward the building and shouts that he should not forget to thank Rabin too. The next day at school, Wooju tries to wake Nenah while Rabin remembers Hiji's comment about liking that fool. Rabin quickly shakes the thought away and tells herself not to imagine strange things. They head toward the gym. Rabin comments that it looks untouched. Wooju asks what is going on. Nenah says she might have an idea but tells them to go see the snake teacher first. Wooju wonders whether Hiji will even come to class today. None of them notice that someone is watching them. Elsewhere, inside the library, Min Jaeun is tidying books when someone calls her. It is Wooju. When he sees her, he thinks she looks exactly as she always does. A few hours earlier, their group gathered and planned. Hiji was the first to break the silence, furious because the person who attacked her had returned to school, and even cursed at her. Nenah mocked her, saying there was no choice since the smell of pork was already in the air. Hiji exploded in anger. Rabin asked what they should do now and whether the goat shepherd mission would continue. Nenah said yes. Wooju surprised everyone by suggesting that it might be better to try talking to Min Jaeun first. Hiji complained that it made her angry. She wanted to know why they could not simply capture Jaeun and be done with it. Wooju explained that if Jaeun keeps coming to school normally, it might mean her case is different from Hai Jin's. He suggests there could be a specific moment when the spirit takes over her. Nenah pounced on him, frustrated, and dragged him out of the classroom. She warned him they did not have much time and said that he can only be a good referee if he also manages to save the participants. She told him they would wait and ordered him not to forget to tell them his location. Then she shut the door behind him. Alone, Wooju reflected that everything is strange. He wonders how Min Jaeun could attend school as if nothing happened. He assumes she might not realize she lost control the night before. If that is true, then maybe this can be solved through a normal conversation. That is why he decides to explain everything to her and ask her to join the Zodiac race before they use force. Now, Standing in front of Min Jae-hyun, Wooju cannot find the words. Silence stretches painfully. He thinks he has not even started speaking and yet he is already nervous just standing there. He tells himself it is awkward, but backing out now is impossible. Min Jae-hyun asks if he is Wooju and whether he came to return the book he borrowed. He says no. He explains that he came to talk about what happened the previous day. Min Jae-hyun's expression changes. She looks confused and asks what he is talking about. Wooju wonders if she is pretending not to know. He starts to say that he was there when she then stops because something else happens. Min Jae-hyun looks embarrassed and tells him he is standing too close. Wooju immediately steps back and apologizes. She says it is fine, then shyly adds that she has never talked that close to a boy before. Wooju cannot tell whether she is acting or genuinely flustered. He convinces himself that she is not in the same state as the night before and that he might still persuade her to join the race peacefully. He lifts his hand, intending to touch her shoulder, and murmurs an apology as he steps closer with his eyes closed. Instead, he bumps into the table and knocks a book to the floor. Min Jae-hyun stands to pick it up. In the scramble, a small accident happens. Wooju realizes too late where his hands ended up. He jerks back, apologizing rapidly, blurting that he did not mean that. Min Jae-hyun, blushing, understands what happened but asks him to please remove his hands. He pulls away immediately. Several people in the library glance over, startled by the commotion. Min Jae-hyun asks if they can talk about it another day. Wooju agrees, already convinced that he completely failed. Meanwhile, Hiji walks into her classroom as if nothing happened. A few classmates immediately tell her they were worried and that they are relieved to see her back. Someone else asks whether something happened to her. Hiji answers that she was simply sick. At that moment, footsteps thunder down the hallway. Wooju bursts in and announces loudly that he tried talking to Min Jae-hyun, but it did not work. He suddenly stops when he hears the chatter around him. It is the first time most of them have ever heard him raise his voice like that. A few students wonder aloud if he is excited about something. Some say it is probably because the boys who used to bully him have stopped coming to school, so of course he would be happy. Another student adds that it is strange, because only the people who bothered Wooju seem to be having accidents, implying that maybe Wooju is somehow responsible. Hearing that, Hiji strides up, grabs Wooju by the face, and tells him he is being too loud. She demands that he stop making a scene and orders him to finish what he was saying so everyone knows what he is talking about. Wooju explains that he tried to speak with Min Jae-hyun, but he failed to recite the spell properly. Inside Hiji, the little pig spirit reacts with surprise. Hiji tells him not to worry and says that the important thing is that he tried. Wooju thanks her. Hiji then adds that he even dared to approach a crazy girl like her and asks if he is alright. Wooju grows nervous because she is standing uncomfortably close. Around them, whispers spread through the classroom. Students quietly wonder since when those two became that close. Hiji says there is not much else they can do for now and suggests they simply try again later. Wooju replies that it will be difficult. When she asks why, he confesses that he accidentally touched his superior's chest. Hiji explodes, shouting that he is not only stupid but apparently a pervert too. Wooju stares at her and asks her to wait. He then asks where Rabin is. Hiji says Rabin has a student council meeting in the afternoon but will join them afterward. Later, Nenah confronts Wooju and asks if he really tried to force Min Jae-hyun into participating in the race. Wooju admits that he did, because she seemed normal, so he thought a peaceful approach would work. Nenah says it was not a bad idea, but asks why it failed. Wooju explains that he made a mistake while trying to touch her shoulder. Hiji immediately calls him stupid again and asks why Rabin still has not shown up. Hoijin mentions she will have to leave soon for a meeting as well and asks what they will do now. Just then, Wooju receives a message. When he sees the sender, his mood shifts instantly. Min Jae-hyun says she wants to talk about what happened earlier and asks if he can meet her later at the park. Wooju announces excitedly that there is still hope for their mission. Meanwhile, at the student council meeting, the leader announces it is over. As they file out, a few members complain that it took too long. Rabin agrees silently, thinking it dragged on longer than expected. Then she receives a message from Wooju. He tells her that Min Jae-hyun invited him to meet in the backyard garden, and that he and the others will go ahead. He asks Rabin to come there as soon as she is free. Rabin assumes he wants to stick to the plan and decides she needs to hurry. Before she can leave, someone greets her. She turns and sees Min Jae-hyun. Jian asks if she is Rabin. Rabin confirms it, and at the same time wonders why Jae-hyun is not already in the backyard garden meeting Wooju. Jae-hyun smiles warmly and asks if Rabin has a moment, suggesting they talk in the library instead. Rabin agrees, but discreetly hides her phone to send a message without being noticed. Elsewhere, at the park, Hiji complains about the goat not showing up yet, and asks why Nenah is still so calm. Then Hiji suddenly grabs Wooju by the collar and demands to know what is going on and why Rabin has not arrived. Wooju says Rabin should already be with them, because as far as he knows there should not be any other student council activity happening in the library. At that moment, a message arrives. It is from Rabin, full of spelling errors, saying that she is going with the goat to the library. Nenah squints, confused as she tries to decode it. The pig spirit reads it immediately and understands. Hiji grabs Wuju and orders everyone to run there now. Wuju asks why she is moving so fast. Hiji explains that Rabin's sloppy, mistake-filled message suggests she wrote it in a rush, either secretly or while in danger. They sprint to the library. Hiji kicks the door open. Wuju rushes in and asks whether Rabin is alright. The moment he sees the scene inside, he freezes, because the girls are already mid-fight. Everyone hesitates for a heartbeat, not sure how to react. Then Hiji demands to know what is going on. Wuju, stunned, thinks about how absurd it is that they are fighting at all, and he also wonders when they became close enough to be in the same mess like this. Then Rabin collapses to her knees, drained of divine power. Nenah shouts that they need to attack now. The pig spirit looks confused, but Nenah quickly explains that the goat has absorbed the rabbit's sacred power. Nenah launches forward. Jian begins to transform, revealing a new appearance as the goat spirit surfaces more strongly. Wuju runs to Rabin and asks how she is. He takes her hand and begins transferring some of his divine power into her. As he does, he thinks that the goat did not fully drain Rabin, only partially, leaving her at about half. Rabin steadies herself, stands and says she is fine. She fixes her eyes on the goat, remembering what happened just moments earlier. In that memory, Rabin asks Jian what she wants. Jian asks what Rabin and Wuju are planning, leaving Rabin briefly confused. Jian then asks whether they are investigating the culprit behind the recent incidents at school. Rabin asks why Jian would assume that, and what it has to do with her. Jian answers immediately and admits that she is the culprit. Rabin is struck speechless, unable to understand why she would confess so easily. The goat spirit remarks that the one who hid during the earlier chaos was Rabin. Rabin grows tense and asks whether she has already been exposed. She demands to know why Jian has been doing these things. Jian tells her not to interfere. She says she does not understand why Rabin is protecting Hiji. She argues that Rabin has nothing to do with Hiji, and that it is better to punish the ones who cause trouble. Rabin observes that Jian does not sound like she is thinking clearly. Still, now that the truth is out, Rabin says she will explain quickly. She reveals that the Zodiac trial is beginning again and that Jian is possessed by a strange animal protecting spirit. That is why Rabin and Wuju are protecting Hiji, because Hiji is also meant to participate. Rabin adds that Jian's violent behavior is caused by that spirit, which awakens and amplifies human desires. Jian questions the Zodiac trial. Rabin explains that she is not the only one possessed, listing herself, the nurse, Hiji, and many others. The goat spirit says Rabin is misunderstanding everything. It declares that this is not a good enough reason to protect trash, like Hiji. Then Jian stands and starts to walk away. Rabin follows, insisting that possession intensifies thoughts and emotions, and says Jian must meet Wuju so that everything can return to normal after the Zodiac trial. Jian removes her glasses and keeps walking. Rabin yells for her not to run and realizes she may have no choice but to use force. Then Rabin notices that Jian is closing the door behind them. Rabin asks who is really trying to escape. As Rabin turns back, she demands to know why Jian did that. Rabin feels a strange pressure in the air and asks why Jian changed so suddenly. Sensing danger, Rabin tries to flee. The goat moves faster and grabs Rabin by the ears, holding her in place. The goat demands that Rabin repeat why she is protecting Hiji. Rabin tries to move but cannot. The goat declares that Hiji and the others are bullies. Rabin agrees but insists that violence is not how problems are solved. That enrages Jian even more. The goat asks what Rabin just said and accuses Rabin of staying silent when they bullied Wuju, yet now suddenly acting righteous. Rabin panics, then thinks quickly and shouts that Wuju would hate that attitude too. The goat becomes even angrier. Still yanking Rabin's ears, she demands to know how close Rabin and Wuju are. She says she heard they live together and asks whether they are close physically as well as emotionally. Rabin, unsettled, asks what she is implying. The goat says she wants to ask something directly. What Rabin thinks of Wuju, and whether Rabin truly feels nothing for him. Rabin answers that she does not, explaining that they have known each other since childhood and are nothing more than friends. Jian slams Rabin against the wall and comments that it is good if that is the case. Then she admits the truth with chilling clarity. She says that she likes Wuju, she likes him a lot. And in that instant, Rabin understands why Jian attacked the bullies in the first place. Everything was done for Wuju. The goat spirit leans close to Rabin and proposes a deal, whispering an offer into her ear. After murmuring it, she adds that if Rabin accepts, she will agree to take part in the Zodiac trial. Rabin asks what happens if she refuses. Jian answers without hesitation that if Rabin rejects the offer, she will completely destroy Hiji, and she guarantees nothing about what might happen to the nurse either. Rabin asks for a moment to think. Instead of waiting, Jian kisses her, pressing in with deliberate intent. Back in the present, the goat slams Nenah aside and throws her straight into Wuju. Rabin watches, stunned as the goat raises a finger to her lips in a silenced gesture. The goat's eyes seem to tell Rabin to think carefully before making any decision. Rabin escapes, but the gesture leaves her confused about what the goat truly wants. Once Rabin is out of reach, her friends rush to her and ask if she is alright. Nenah immediately crouches and inspects beneath Rabin's skirt. Rabin demands to know what she is doing. Nenah answers that she is checking for injuries and confirms that aside from her sacred power being cut in half, there are no additional problems. Wuju asks if Rabin is in better condition than when the nurse drained her. Nenah confirms that she is, and adds that something prevented the goat from stealing all of Rabin's power. Rabin remembers the goat's warning gesture and considers that this might be connected. Nenah notices Rabin's expression and comments that she seems to know something. Rabin tries to dismiss it, saying that maybe the goat failed to drain her completely because Rabin resisted strongly. Nenah grows thoughtful, then says that regardless, it is good news. With the pig on their side, they can handle the goat together. Nenah also notes that the goat is not targeting the arbiter this time. She declares that they will attempt the mission again and stresses that the most important part is the arbiter's surprise attack. While Wuju helps Rabin recover, he must wait for the right moment and not charge in alone. Elsewhere, the goat jumps from the building and pauses to observe. Hiji asks whether they truly have to go that way, admitting she is not ready. Nenah gives a slight smile, grabs Hiji's hand, and orders her to jump. When they land, the pig host screams that Nenah is insane. On the ground, the goat begins running. The pig and the cat sprint after her. Nenah reflects that the most irritating thing about the goat is that she has some of the best abilities. Her charge is a real threat, but mainly in a one-on-one fight. Nenah turns to Hiji and tells her to block the goat's path. Nenah explains the trap: if they pretend to split up, the goat will likely chase the pig, because the pig is her original target and looks like easier prey. If Hiji runs ahead, the goat will be lured into position. Hiji runs as instructed, but when she looks back, she realizes Nenah is not behind her. She asks why Nenah is not following. Nenah mutters that this was not expected and wonders why the goat is chasing her instead. The goat answers that Nenah is more annoying. Nenah says it does not matter. Even if the goat absorbed half of the rabbit's sacred power, she still cannot defeat Nenah. Nenah declares that choosing to chase her is a mistake, meaning the goat already lost. She leaps at the goat. The goat pulls something from her pocket and says she does not rely on stupid tricks like Nenah does. She throws a ball that bursts into a cloud of leaves. Nenah hits the ground confused. The goat says it is normal that Nenah is affected since it is her first time experiencing it. She reveals the truth. It is catnip. Nenah's body reacts immediately. Her thoughts blur, and agitation takes over. The goat says that catnip makes cats lose their minds, but assures her it is not dangerous and tells her to enjoy it as much as she wants. Nenah tries to reach her opponent, but she cannot think clearly enough to move properly. Meanwhile, Hiji reaches Wuju and Rabin. Wuju, seeing her arrive alone, asks where Minjiyun is. The pig host answers that she does not know. Then the unexpected happens. The goat suddenly appears behind them. Before Hiji can react, she is struck brutally, sent flying into the wall. The goat continues attacking without pause. Rabin watches in horror. The pig screams in pain. Wuju freezes, shaken by the violence, and desperately wonders where Nenah is. On the floor, the pig tries to rise, but the goat grabs her by the hair and drags her up. Wuju forces himself to wait. He reminds himself that their only chance is the surprise attack, and if he acts too soon, he will ruin it. The goat taunts Hiji, saying she always bullied others, and now that the roles are reversed, she asks how it feels. Hiji pleads that she understands and begs her to stop. The goat, furious, asks what she supposedly understands. Hiji says it is all her fault. The goat hits her again and demands to know what she means by fault. Hiji admits that she tormented Wuju for a long time. The goat asks why she did it. Hiji trembles and cannot answer. The goat says Hiji still cannot speak honestly and declares she will first get rid of that annoying pink hair. After that, they can talk properly. Before doing it, the goat asks again why Hiji harassed Wuju and threatens to rip out every strand of her hair if she does not answer quickly. The pig host screams for her not to do it. Even so, Hiji thinks there is something she can never admit, not even if she dies. Her mind slips into the past. A year earlier, on the pre-orientation day at Jiggy Institute, 16-year-old Hiji sat quietly and watched the other students. She thought it looked like everyone already had close friends and wondered if she would be able to make any at all. As she pulled out a piece of gum, Wuju appeared, greeted her, and sat beside her. He noticed she kept glancing behind them. He realized she was watching Rabin and asked who that girl was, admitting he found her pretty. Wuju then comments that Rabin is attractive, even pointing out that her hair color is beautiful. He explains that Rabin has been popular since she was young because she stands out. Hiji asks if Wuju is Rabin's friend. Wuju replies that he is not, explaining that their parents are friends, which is why he knows her. Hiji comments that a hair color like that would not suit her. Wuju asks if she wants to dye her hair too. He says he thinks it would look good on her. Hiji blushes and thanks him. Trying to return the warmth, she takes out her gum as a small gesture of trust. Before she can offer it, Rabin calls Wuju and asks whether they are in the same class again. Wuju answers yes and says it is a coincidence. Rabin tells him to get up and go to the cafeteria together. Wuju leaves and Hiji is left behind. Then, on the first day of the new semester, Wuju walks down the hallway until someone calls his name. He turns and sees a girl with pink hair greeting him. It is Hiji. She thinks to herself that she always planned to change her hair, but she did it because he said it would look good. Wuju, however, asks who she is. Hiji is stunned. Then Rabin calls Wuju again. He greets Rabin and walks away with her, leaving Hiji standing alone. That was the day Hiji promised herself that one way or another, she would make Wuju notice her. Back in the present, the goat yanks Hiji to the side and demands an answer again. Hiji, already battered, thinks that even if the goat kills her, she cannot confess that she bullied him just to get his attention. The worst part is that Wuju is right there, listening. On the ground, Hiji drops to her knees, lowers her head, and says she is truly guilty. The goat asks if Hiji thinks kneeling will earn forgiveness. Hiji says the goat can hit her as much as she wants until she feels satisfied. The goat says Hiji still does not understand. She declares she cannot allow it. She says it would be faster to ask the cat or the rabbit directly and implies she will beat them for a quicker answer. Hiji grabs the goat's ankle, stopping her. She begs for one moment and promises she will answer. At that moment, Rabin tells Wuju to get ready. Hiji is about to confess the reason she harassed Wuju all this time. Rabin steps toward them. Wuju is confused and asks what Rabin is doing. Then Rabin declares that she will fight the goat. The two stare at one another, and the goat smiles faintly. Wuju notices that the goat's attention shifts. He realizes this is his chance. He lunges forward, wraps his arms around her, and declares that the goat will participate in the Zodiac trial. The goat smiles. Wuju notices the smile, but there is no time to think. A magic circle appears, glowing, and the participation declaration takes effect. After some time passes, Jian wakes. She looks around disoriented. Wuju immediately asks if she is alright and whether she has fully regained consciousness. Jian asks where they are. Wuju asks if she remembers anything. Jian says she remembers nothing and complains that her head hurts. Then she asks why she is there with him. The small goat spirit appears and apologizes, saying she is very sorry. She explains that it has been a long time since she descended to Earth, and without realizing it, she got too excited. Jian looks at the spirit and asks if it is a ghost. Wuju watches her and wonders if her memory loss is real, caused by possession. With that in mind, they begin explaining everything that has happened so far. After hearing the story, Jian asks how she could have done something so cruel and apologizes for everything. Hiji, still furious, demands to know whether crying fixes anything. Wuju stops Hiji and says it is fine. He points out that Jian does not remember what she did, and what matters most is that she is back to normal now. Jian stands and grabs Wuju by the clothes. She says she will help him with anything as a sign of remorse. Wuju replies that he will think about it later. Nenah declares that now they have gained another participant. That irritates Hiji slightly. She complains that it is easy for Nenah to say, but she was terrified before everything was resolved. Nenah ignores the complaint and tells Wuju they should go home because she is hungry. As they leave, Jian calls Rabin's name. Rabin turns. Jian, now officially their partner in the trial, tells Rabin to keep her promise and smiles slightly. A chill runs down Rabin's spine, but she forces her expression back into seriousness. By the end of the day, Jian returns home. She sits on the floor, curls into herself, and starts laughing. The goat spirit watches and becomes uneasy. The spirit quickly explains that Jian is simply happy because Wuju hugged her. As if proving the point, the spirit reveals that Jian's room is filled with photographs of Wuju. Later, Wuju asks whether Jian made it home safely. He says they probably should have accompanied her. While she recovers her strength, Hiji snaps that he should not worry about her and complains that her scalp still hurts from how the goat yanked her hair earlier. Wuju says the same thing happened to Rabin and asks if Rabin is alright. Rabin is lost in her thoughts until Wuju calls her name again. She answers automatically that she is fine. Hiji complains that she does not understand why they are suddenly on her side, saying that she is crazy and does not deserve it. But when her eyes land on Wuju, she remembers how he protected her earlier. The memory makes her cheeks warm, and she blushes without meaning to. Wuju notices the color rising in her face and wonders if her sacred power still has not fully recovered. He starts moving his hand toward hers, intending to recharge her again. Hiji yanks her hand away immediately and demands to know what is wrong with him. Wuju hurriedly explains that he only wanted to help her regain her sacred power. That makes her blush even harder. She awkwardly announces that she will take a different route now and quickly says goodbye. Wuju stands there wondering why she suddenly switched moods like that. Rabin and Nenah have watched the entire exchange. Nenah grows thoughtful, then abruptly says she has something to do and tells them to return home first. She leaves, which forces Wuju and Rabin to walk together alone. Later that night, somewhere on school grounds, a figure stands in the dark, focusing their energy and beginning to invoke power. Before the invocation can fully settle, someone interrupts, commenting that even at night there is still trouble. The interrupter's voice startles the one invoking, who reflexively fires a lightning bolt toward the sound. The mysterious newcomer calmly remarks that such an attack could have killed someone. Then she adds that she was right after all and addresses the one who attacked as the fifth guardian spirit. The one who summoned lightning responds that he does not take seriously ranks created only to amuse the gods. It becomes clear that the newcomer is Nenah. Nenah replies that he still has the same attitude as always, like a doll that somehow developed feelings, and she says she is relieved that nothing has changed. She adds that if he stayed the same, he will not get in her way when she aims for first place, though she admits that it makes things a little boring. Even so, she says she now understands his stance and will ask for his help in the future. He responds that even if she never asks, he will help anyway, because it is something only he can do. Nenah tells him that people in this era call that being nosy and do not like it. He studies her more carefully and comments that it is sad. He says she is still chained to the past, still behaving the same way. Nenah warns him that it is none of his business. She turns away and calls him a meddler as she walks off. As Nenah disappears into the night, the one she spoke with, Rujin, thinks to himself that nothing will be easy as long as she exists. Meanwhile, Wuju walks with Rabin and asks how long it has been since they last went home together. Rabin answers that it has been a long time. She reflects that the past week has been filled with impossible events. She suddenly grew rabbit ears, a cat turned into a human, and Wuju's first kiss happened with Minji Hyun. After that thought, both of them fall quiet. Wuju breaks the silence by asking whether Rabin said something earlier, back when the goat was attacking Hiji. He remembers Rabin shouting that she would do it and he asks what she meant. Rabin, slightly tense, tries to say it was nothing. Then she suddenly calls his name, making him ask what is going on. Rabin, blushing, asks whether he has ever kissed someone before. Wuju is startled by the sudden question and asks why she is asking that now. He nervously answers that kissing is something people do when they are dating. He adds that she already knows he has never dated anyone, and he laughs faintly out of embarrassment. Rabin confirms that she knows. Then she asks if he has ever thought about getting a girlfriend. Wuju replies that someone like him cannot. He says there is no girl in the world who would want a short, ugly boy like him. Rabin immediately challenges that. She asks why he talks about himself like that and why he looks down on himself so much. She insists that he is a wonderful person. She asks why he believes no one could like him. She says that out of everyone she knows, nobody is as kind and caring as he is. Half turning away, she tells him that is exactly why he should have more confidence. Wuju blushes so hard his ears burn. He quickly suggests that they should just go home and rest. Wuju wakes with a start and wonders how long he slept. He also wonders why he had another strange dream, especially one that included someone who looked like Nenah crying. He puts on his glasses and realizes everything looks blurry. He feels dizzy, as if the room is tilting. But the real shock comes when he enters the bathroom. The boy in the mirror does not look like him anymore. Wuju screams at his reflection. Nearby, Nenah hears the noise. She wonders what is happening, thinking she even asked him to go to school with her, yet he still has not come out. She rushes into his place, demanding to know why he has not answered her messages. When she sees him, she freezes. It is still Wuju, but different. She is genuinely startled and asks what happened. She demands to know how his hair became so long overnight and where his glasses went. Wuju explains that when he put his glasses on, his vision became blurry, and when he looked in the bathroom mirror, he looked like this. Nenah stares at him in surprise. Wuju asks if he woke her with the screaming. Instead of answering, Nenah grabs his face and says he resembles someone. Wuju asks who. Nenah does not answer at first. She just keeps staring, then finally claims he does not look like anyone at all. Wuju insists she explain what is happening and asks if he has been possessed by a guardian spirit too. Nenah tells him to stay calm, though she admits she does not understand it either. She says she does not know the cause, but she knows someone who might. She points toward Rabin. Rabin looks confused. Then her mouth opens, but the voice that comes out is not Rabin's. The rabbit spirit emerges and explains that what is happening is the arbiter's power gradually increasing. Wuju reels, disoriented, because it is not Rabin's voice speaking. The rabbit spirit clarifies that as more and more zodiac spirits join the trial, the arbiter who controls them must gain greater power as well. Wuju points out that there were no changes when only 3 animals were involved. The rabbit explains that this is because Wuju gathered them almost at the same time, causing a large amount of energy to accumulate in a short period. From now on, she warns every time a new animal joins, Wuju will undergo some transformation, small or large. She calls it part of the process of becoming a worthy arbiter of the zodiac trial. Wuju asks if this could happen again in the future and looks to Nenah, asking what he should do. Nenah keeps staring at him, visibly unsettled. Wuju steps closer, asks if she feels sick, and touches her forehead to check for a fever. Nenah instantly pulls away, transforms into her cat form, and runs off. Wuju stands there confused, wondering why she suddenly fled and whether he should take her to a veterinarian. After that, he gets ready for school and asks Rabin what she thinks. Rabin tells him it is obvious he has grown a lot. Wuju says the uniform he bought was 2 sizes too big. but now it fits perfectly. Rabin points out that they are running late and tells him to hurry. At school, the moment he enters the classroom, students stare. Several whisper, asking if the tall boy is really Wooju and how someone could change that much overnight. Then Hiji arrives. She stops short and asks if it is truly him. Wooju greets her normally, but she cannot believe it and complains that just yesterday they were almost the same height. She notices the other students gawking and tells them to stop, saying he is clearly uncomfortable. She orders them to sit down and stop bothering him. Some students react in disbelief, asking what is wrong with her and pointing out that she was always the first one to mess with him. Hiji says that was because of a small misunderstanding. Then she tells Wooju to follow her. Wooju asks where she is taking him. On the stairwell, Hiji begins bombarding him with questions. She asks if this is caused by a guardian spirit. Wooju answers that it is not, explaining that this happened because he is the arbiter. Hiji moves closer and complains that it is unfair. She says she had to turn into a pig because of a spirit, but he simply grew overnight. She also asks if his eyesight improved. Wooju pushes her back slightly and tells her to wait because it tickles. Hiji blushes again, staring at him like he is unbelievable. She asks if he really cannot handle that and mentions she got beaten up yesterday, reminding him of what happened. The memory makes Wooju's expression dim. Hiji quickly says she was joking and asks why he looks like that. She wonders if he is reacting because of what happened before. She insists it was not his fault, it was hers. Wooju steps closer and says that next time he will protect her. Hiji is left speechless. Then she snaps out of it, calls him an idiot, and tells him to go home. He actually turns to leave. Outside, Hiji watches him go and mutters to herself that there is no other option now. She will have to take care of him. Just then, Rabin arrives and startles Hiji by calling her name. The pig host flinches and asks why Rabin is there. Rabin does not answer right away. Instead, she asks what Hiji thinks about Wooju. Hiji looks confused and demands to know what Rabin means and why she would want an opinion about that idiot. Rabin clarifies that she is asking from a girl's point of view, about a boy. Hiji hesitates, then says that Wooju still has a long way to go. She adds that maybe when he becomes more mature, he will be better. The moment she realizes how that sounded, her face goes red. To escape, she abruptly declares that she is hungry and sprints toward the cafeteria. Rabin stays where she is, thoughtful, then returns to class and hears everyone talking about Wooju. Students keep commenting on how different he looks now, taller, more noticeable, and somehow more attractive. They say people are starting to look at him differently. Rabin thinks that the attention is only because he is tall now. She tells herself that Wooju's real charm has not suddenly changed. Then her mind drifts to the goat's words. The request she mentioned. Rabin remembers the goat openly saying she wants to pair up with Wooju, admitting she likes him. Back in the present, Rabin realizes that there is no avoiding it. Something is unfolding around Wooju whether she likes it or not. By the end of the day, Wooju comments that the day was chaotic. Rabin agrees and adds that because of everything, they could not find any trace of other participants. Wooju suggests they treat today as a break from guardian spirits and hosts. Rabin asks whether he can think of who might be next. Because there is only one solid clue, it must be someone connected to him. Wooju thinks for a moment and says he cannot think of anyone else. Still, he admits there must be someone close that he simply has not noticed. Rabin decides it is time and calls his name. Before she can say anything, someone else calls him first. A blonde girl runs up to Wooju, asking if he really is Wooju and excitedly commenting that he has grown so much. She greets him by kissing his cheek, then wraps him in a hug. Rabin reacts immediately, demanding to know what the girl is doing. Wooju looks just as startled and asks himself why she is acting like that all of a sudden. He gently pushes her away and calls her by name, saying, "Woo." The blonde girl repeats that he has grown a lot. Then she looks at Rabin and asks who she is, directly questioning whether Rabin is Wooju's girlfriend. Rabin and the girl stare at each other. Rabin's mind flashes to the thought that Wooju might have an older sister, but then she notices the girl looks foreign and wonders who she really is. The girl asks again whether Rabin is his girlfriend. Rabin denies it quickly, then turns the question back and asks Wooju who the girl is. Instead of answering Rabin immediately, Wooju greets the blonde girl properly and says that it has been a long time. The girl agrees and points out that 10 years have passed. Her name is Scarlet Wu, and she is Wooju's childhood friend. They first met more than a decade ago in Hoingsong, when Wooju was still in elementary school. Because of family circumstances, he used to spend all his vacations in the countryside. The place he stayed was remote even by rural standards, and he often felt lonely because there were no kids his age around. One day, he was outside watching a cow when someone asked him what he was doing there. That was Scarlet, the only child living nearby. She asked if he was the boy visiting from Seoul. Wooju noticed she was a foreigner, yet her Korean was fluent. Scarlet introduced herself and offered her hand. Before they could shake, an older woman appeared, greeting them and asking if they were hungry. It turned out Scarlet was the granddaughter of a famous shaman family in the area. She stayed in the countryside because her health was fragile, and she needed to recover. Wuju's grandmother and Scarlet's family treated each other like relatives. From that point on, the two children spent their days together, growing attached through simple games and long afternoons. One day, while they played by the river, Scarlet suddenly coughed and spat up a bit of vital fluid. Wuju panicked and asked if she was all right. Scarlet laughed it off and told him not to worry. Wuju insisted anyway and told her to climb onto his back so he could carry her to his grandmother's house. But then summer ended. On the day the vacation was about to finish, young Wuju ran to Scarlet's house, barged into her room, and asked what they would do that day. She was gone. In the present, Wuju explains that his grandmother told him Scarlet left to study in the United States, where her mother lives. Now she has appeared again, as if she never left. Scarlet hugs him again and says those days were wonderful. Rabin watches, surprised by how affectionate Scarlet is. Wuju agrees and says they were like siblings. Scarlet admits she felt terrible about leaving without properly saying goodbye. Wuju says that now that he thinks about it, he wonders if she is healthy, because he heard she was receiving treatment while she was away. Scarlet says she is fine, then hits him lightly, complaining that they have not seen each other in years and he is already interrogating her. Wuju comments that she seems much more cheerful now. Scarlet laughs and brings up the fact that she used to bathe him when they were kids, which shocks Rabin even more. Wuju hurriedly says that was only when they were small. Scarlet pats his head and says he has become more manly. Wuju asks what brought her here and whether she only came briefly to visit. Scarlet denies that and reveals she moved here, specifically to the building across from where Wuju lives. Rabin immediately asks why she would move to that exact place. Before Scarlet can answer, Rabin's mother appears. She asks if Scarlet is Miss Wu and says Wuju has talked about her before. She introduces herself warmly as Wuju's mother, which leaves Wuju confused because he did not expect her to appear right then. Scarlet links arms with Rabin's mother and asks her to take care of her. Rabin's mother calls Scarlet sweet and invites her along, saying she will show her around the neighborhood. Scarlet happily agrees. Before leaving, she tells Wuju and Rabin that she will see them later, then walks off with Rabin's mother, leaving the two students behind. Rabin watches them go, then asks whether a childhood connection like that could be strong enough for Scarlet to become a participant too. Wuju does not answer. He just stands there with a blank, slightly foolish expression. Rabin notices that look. She quietly says goodbye and leaves him behind, still confused. Later, Rabin sits in her room and thinks for a while, then she takes her phone and calls someone. The goat answers. Rabin asks when would be a good time for her. Elsewhere, Nenah thinks that the situation is obvious. She believes it is exactly as the rabbit explained. Wuju's appearance changed because the arbiter's power is awakening, and there is nothing to fear. Soon after, Wuju comes home and announces that he is back. Nenah greets him and asks if there is any news about other participants. Wuju replies that for now there is only one possible candidate. As he speaks, he lifts his shirt slightly to wipe off sweat. The gesture leaves Nenah a little flustered and blushing. Wuju steps closer and asks whether someone very distant could still count as a participant. Nenah does not answer. Wuju leans in further and asks whether she is listening to him. That makes Nenah visibly nervous. She suddenly turns into a cat and tries to run. Wuju stares confused and asks why she keeps running away like that. Nenah, while fleeing, wonders why she reacts this way whenever she sees that foolish face of his. Before she can escape, Wuju catches her and tells her to stop because the house is turning into a mess. Nenah shifts back into her human form in his arms, and the sudden change makes Wuju lose balance and fall on top of her. Wuju grimaces and says this cannot continue. He asks whether it is accumulating. Nenah, startled by his words, asks what he is talking about.